I remember that morning like it was etched into the red dirt of the Arizona desert. The sun was just peeking over the jagged peaks of the Superstition Mountains, casting a warm glow through my kitchen window in Phoenix. I'd been up since 5, nursing a cup of black coffee after a long night shift at the hospital. As a registered nurse in the ER, I'd see my share of chaos, car wrecks from the I-10, heat stroke victims from the relentless summer sun, but nothing prepared me for the pounding on my front door at dawn. My heart jumped, thinking it might be a neighbor in trouble or some emergency from work. I padded across the worn hardwood floors I'd refinished myself last year, my bare feet cool against the planks. "Hold your horses," I called out, but the knocking didn't let up. When I swung the door open, the dry desert air rushed in, carrying the faint scent of creosote bushes. There stood my brother, Jake, with 2 scuffed duffel bags at his boots. His eyes weren't scared. They were smug, like he'd already won some game I didn't know we were playing. He didn't bother with hellos. "Pack up,
Emma.
this place is mine now." His voice was flat, like he was stating the obvious, as if he'd just decided to claim my life on a whim. I stood there in my robe, blinking against the morning light, my mind racing to catch up. "Jake, what in the world? This is my house. I rent it from Mom and Dad fair and square." He just shrugged, shouldering past me like I was in his way, dropping his bags on my living room couch, the one I'd bought secondhand and reupholstered after scrimping on overtime pay. The house wasn't much, a modest ranch-style home on the outskirts of Phoenix, with stucco walls and a tile roof that baked under the sun. But I'd made it mine. I'd fixed the leaky irrigation system in the yard, planted native cacti to save on water bills, and turned the spare room into a quiet office where I studied for my nursing certifications. Every month, I wired the rent to my parents without fail, treating it like the lease it was. In Arizona, tenant rights are clear: pay on time, maintain the place, and it's yours until the agreement says otherwise. But Jake? He'd bounced around jobs, construction gigs in Tucson, a failed bar venture in Flagstaff, always landing back on his feet thanks to our folks' endless safety net. I closed the door, my hands shaking as I followed him inside. "You can't just waltz in here. I've got a rental agreement." He smirked, kicking off his boots and sprawling on my couch. "Mom and Dad already okayed it. You're out." My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, Mom's name flashing. I snatched it up, hoping for sanity. "Mom, Jake's here saying he's taking over. Tell him to leave." Her voice came through calm but firm, like she was reading from a script. "Emma, honey, we've let you stay there long enough. Your brother's going through a rough patch. Family helps family." Rough patch? Jake had been in one for years, while I'd built my life brick by brick. I'd graduated nursing school on scholarships, worked doubles to cover rent and student loans, even helped pay for repairs when the AC unit died during a 115-degree heat wave. Gratitude? That's what she expected. But in that moment, as Jake rifled through my mail like it was his, I felt something snap. Not anger. Not yet, just a cold realization. This wasn't about need, it was about favoritism. Plain and simple. I hung up, staring at the saguaro cactus outside my window, its arms reaching up like a silent witness. I'd chosen this house for its peace, away from the city's hustle, where I could hear coyotes howling at night and watch monsoons roll in. It was my proof of independence.
But now,
it felt invaded. Jake glanced up. "Better start packing. I'm throwing a barbecue this weekend." His words lit a fire in me. I thought of all the times I'd bitten my tongue, playing the dutiful daughter while he got the passes. No more. By noon, I'd driven out to my parents' place in Scottsdale, a bigger spread with a pool and views of Camelback Mountain. The drive gave me time to think, the highway humming under my tires.
Mom.
Mary met me at the door with a tight smile, leading me to the kitchen where Dad,
Tom.
sat nursing a beer. Sit down, Emma, he said, his voice gravelly from years working oil rigs up in the Permian Basin before retiring. We've talked it over. Jake needs the stability. You've done fine on your own.
Fiend.
I echoed, my voice steady but edged. I've paid every dime.
Dad.
Fixed the roof after that hailstorm. Even covered the property taxes when you were short last year. Under Arizona law, I'm a tenant with rights. You can't just evict me without notice. Mom waved a hand. Don't get all legal on us. This is family, not some court case. Women like you, strong, independent, you can start over anywhere. Jake's got big dreams. He just needs a leg up. Dreams. That's what they always said about him. While I was the reliable one, clocking in at the hospital, saving lives in the chaos of the ER. I leaned forward. Who replaced the water heater when it busted? Who mowed that half-acre lot every weekend? That's not a favor. That's earning my keep. Dad shifted uncomfortably. He's your brother. Blood's thicker than water. But their words rang hollow. I saw it then, the sexism baked in. The assumption I'd roll over, because I was the good girl. The talk ended with them digging in.
It's decided, Mom said.
I left without arguing more. But as I drove back, the desert landscape blurring by, a plan started forming. Not revenge. Exactly, something smarter. More just. I'd document everything. Consult a lawyer friend from work. In the West, we value self-reliance, but also fairness under the law. This wasn't over. Back home, Jake had already hung his hat on my coat rack. I ignored him, grabbing my laptop to email my parents a formal notice. Per Arizona tenant laws, I required 30 days written eviction notice. Silence from them. That night, as stars blanketed the sky, I lay awake, hearing the distant train whistles from the Union Pacific Line. Betrayal stung, but it fueled me. Family wasn't about blind loyalty, it was about respect. And I was done being invisible. The next few days blurred into a tense standoff. Jake acted like the house was already his, blasting country music from my speakers and inviting buddies over for beers on the patio I'd built with my own hands. I'd come home from shifts at the hospital, exhausted from treating sunburned hikers or flu cases spiking in the winter chill, only to find pizza boxes scattered and my carefully organized pantry raided. Lighten up, sis, he'd say with that grin. It's all family property anyway. But it wasn't. Legally, my parents owned the deed, but I'd been a model tenant for 5 years. In Arizona, verbal rental agreements hold weight, especially with a history of payments. I'd kept every bank statement, every Venmo receipt for repairs. I wasn't going down without a fight, not a screaming one, but a calculated stand. I called my friend Lisa, a paralegal in downtown Phoenix who'd helped with small claims before. Emma, you've got grounds, she said over coffee at a local diner. The smell of huevos rancheros wafting around us. Demand written notice. If they push, file for unlawful detainer protection. Her words empowered me. Back home, I confronted Jake quietly. You need to leave until this is sorted legally.
He laughed.
Mom and Dad say otherwise. That evening, my parents called. Stop making waves, Dad grumbled. Jake's starting a new job in construction. He needs the address for stability. Mom chimed in. Be reasonable.
Emma.
You've got your nursing career. You can afford a new place. Think of it as helping out. Helping out? I'd helped for years, bailing them out when Dad's pension dipped, sending money for Mom's medical bills after her knee surgery. But Jake? He'd squandered chances. From dropping out of community college to that shady real estate flip that went bust. Reasonable would be honoring my tenancy, I replied. Double the rent if you want. But give me time. They hung up frustrated. But I sensed cracks. The West teaches resilience. Out here, where pioneers carved lives from harsh land, you don't back down from what's yours. Word spread subtly. At work, colleagues noticed my distraction. Family drama? One asked during a break in the bustling ER. I nodded, sharing bits. Soon, a doctor friend offered his guest room if needed. Neighbors, too, the kind folks next door with their pickup trucks and backyard barbecues stopped by. Heard your brother's crashing, mister, Ramirez said, tipping his cowboy hat. That ain't right. Their support bolstered me. Then came the bombshell, a text from Mom. Rent's doubling next month. Pay or vacate. Classic strong-arm tactic. But in Arizona, rent hikes require notice and can't be punitive. I fired back with a polite email, attaching lease law links. No response. Jake, meanwhile, escalated. He changed the locks one afternoon while I was at work. I came home to find my key useless, my stuff inside. Fury boiled. But I stayed cool, called a locksmith, documented it with photos, and filed a police report for illegal lockout. The cop who showed up, a burly guy with a mustache, shook his head. Family disputes are messy, but you can't lock out a tenant. Jake fumed when I got back in. This is war.
Emma.
But his bluster hid panic. That night, he threw a party, loud music, grills smoking with burgers, friends spilling onto the lawn under string lights I'd hung. I retreated to my room, earplugs in, plotting. But as laughter echoed, I overheard snippets. Your sis paid for all this? One guest asked. Jake brushed it off. But seeds of doubt planted. The real turning point came midweek. I drove to my parents again. The Sonoran desert stretching endlessly, saguaros like sentinels. Over iced tea on their shaded porch. I laid it out. I'm not leaving without due process. Evict me properly, or let's negotiate. Dad sighed. You're too stubborn. Like your grandma. Mom teared up. We just want what's best for Jake. Best for him meant worst for me. I left with no resolution, but a growing resolve. Back home, Jake's mess grew. Empty bottles, cigarette butts in my flower beds. I cleaned silently, biding time. Then, inspiration struck. I'd inventory everything I'd bought or fixed. From the fridge I'd replaced after a monsoon flood to the couch and rugs. If they forced me out, I'd take what was mine, legally. Personal property isn't fixtures. Lisa confirmed. Arizona law protects your belongings. As days ticked by, tension mounted. Jake snapped at small things. I stayed serene. One evening, under a fiery sunset, I sat on the porch swing I'd installed.
Journaling.
Boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to self-respect, I wrote, echoing a Breen-Brown quote that had stuck with me. My family saw them as barriers, but I knew better. The drama was peaking, but I felt a shift from victim to architect of my fate. The call from Dad came late. Let's talk compromise. But Jake interrupted, yelling in the background. No compromise yet. I hung up, staring at the stars. Out west, the night sky is vast, reminding you how small feuds are. But this one, it was teaching me strength. Compromise talks fell apart fast. Dad suggested I pay the doubled rent for a few months while Jake got settled, but it reeked of delay tactics. No, I said firmly over the phone, the hum of hospital monitors in the background during my lunch break. That's not fair or legal, Mom pleaded. Think of the family name. We don't air dirty laundry. But in Phoenix, where communities are tight-knit like old mining towns, word was already out. A neighbor had seen the cop car. Whispers spread at the local farmer's market. Jake doubled down, turning the house into his bachelor pad. His friends came and went, trucks parked haphazardly on the gravel drive. One night, I found my nursing textbooks stacked in the garage,
Replaced by his weights.
making space, he grunted. I snapped a photo, added to my evidence folder. Lisa advised, build your case. If it goes to court, judges here favor documented tenants. Arizona's Landlord-Tenant Act was on my side. No self-help evictions. Proper notice required. I consulted a pro bono clinic downtown, the lawyer nodding as I showed receipts. You've got a strong, unlawful eviction claim if they push. Empowered. I sent my parents a certified letter, 30 days to resolve or I'd sue for damages. Their response? Silence. Then anger. Jake confronted me in the kitchen, face red. You're tearing us apart. I met his eyes.
No, Jake.
Favoritism did that. The party he threw next was his undoing. Under the clear desert night, with a bonfire crackling and country tunes blaring, his crew laughed loud. But I overheard doubts. She fixed this whole place up, one said. Kinda shady kicking her out, Jake boasted. Family business, but it fell flat. I stayed inside. But the next day, a guest, an old high school acquaintance, messaged me. That ain't right. Need help moving? Support was building. Then, the notice arrived, a formal eviction letter from my parents, citing family relocation. Sloppy, no court filing. Just intimidation. I countered with my own filing at the Maricopa County Courthouse, seeking an injunction. The process was grueling, paperwork stacking like the red rocks of Sedona, but it felt right. At work, a patient, a retired sheriff, shared wisdom. Out here, justice is slow but sure, like a desert river carving canyons. Home life turned toxic. Jake hid my mail, changed Wi-Fi passwords. I documented it all, installing a cheap camera in my room. One argument escalated. You're ungrateful, he yelled. I've given you nothing but grief, I shot back. Mom called, tearful. Drop the suit.
Emma.
For peace. But peace without justice is surrender.
Court day loomed.
In the sterile Phoenix courtroom, under fluorescent lights,
My family sat stiff.
the judge, a no-nonsense woman with a southwestern drawl, reviewed evidence. MS. Thompson has established tenancy, she ruled. No eviction without proper cause and hearing. Victory. Temporary stay granted. Jake stormed out. Parents looked defeated. But I sought more than winning. Post-hearing, I approached them outside, the sun beating down. This isn't about hate. It's about fairness. Dad grumbled. You lawyered up on family. Mom whispered. We thought you'd understand.
I didn't yell.
Understanding goes both ways. Back home, Jake packed half-heartedly.
Fine. Keep it, he muttered.
But tension lingered. I started therapy through Work's EAP, unpacking years of overlooked efforts. You're the steady one, the counselor said. But steady deserves recognition. It hit home. I'd been the backbone, invisible until I stood firm. Neighbors rallied, a potluck barbecue in my yard, tamales and brisket shared under string lights. Proud of you, Mrs. Ramirez said. It felt like community, the real Western spirit of looking out for your own. As weeks passed, cracks showed in their facade. Jake's new job fizzled. Parents faced bills without my extra help. A call came. Can we talk? Dad asked. I agreed. Meeting at a neutral diner. Over coffee and pie. Apologies trickled. We favored him too much, Mom admitted. Jake, absent. Sent a text. Sorry. Cease. Not perfect, but a start. I didn't forgive instantly. Boundaries now, I said. They nodded. The lawsuit dropped. I stayed. But change brewed, lighter. More humane. Family isn't erasure, it's growth through respect. With the court ruling in my pocket, the house felt like mine again, truly. For the first time. Jake slunk out over the next week. His duffels dragged to his truck under the relentless Arizona sun. He muttered grievances, but his fire was dimmed. You'll regret this, he said at the door. But it lacked bite. I watched him drive off, dust kicking up on the unpaved road. A mix of relief and sorrow washing over me. Sorrow not for him, but for the years lost to imbalance. Parents called sporadically, voices softer. We mishandled it, Dad admitted one evening. Mom added, we see now. You carried more than we knew. It wasn't a full mea culpa. But in the stoic West, where words are sparse like rain, it meant something. I didn't rush reconciliation. Time, I said. Therapy helped unpack favoritism as a cycle, me as the scapegoat enabler. Break it with empathy, not anger, my counselor advised. Life normalized. Shifts at the hospital, saving a kid from dehydration. Comforting a family after a crash reminded me of purpose beyond drama. I volunteered at a local clinic, treating migrant workers, finding fulfillment in giving back. Neighbors became allies. Barbecues turned regular. Laughter echoing over mesquite smoke. Jake surfaced months later, crashing at friends after another job flop. A tentative coffee meet. I was jealous, he confessed over lattes at a strip mall cafe. You had it together, I didn't. Vulnerability cracked his armor. Jealousy doesn't justify theft, I replied gently. He nodded. Working on it, got a steady gig in Mesa now.
Progress.
Small but real. Parents invited me over. At their Scottsdale home, pool shimmering. We talked openly. We projected dreams on him, Dad said, staring at the mountains. Ignored your reality. Mom hugged me, tears falling. Proud of you,
Emma.
Healing began, not erasure of pain, but acknowledgement. We set rules, equal treatment.
No assumptions.
I reflected in my journal. Under the porch light with crickets chirping. Revenge burns, justice heals. The drama taught boundaries as love, not division. A light lesson. Family thrives on equity. Like the desert blooming after rain. Socially, ripples faded. Whispers turned supportive nods. At a community rodeo, old acquaintances clapped my back. Stood your ground. That's the Western way. Jake even showed. Awkward but present. No big reunion. Just quiet steps. I upgraded the house subtly, solar panels for the harsh sun, a garden with drought-resistant plants. Symbolized self-care. Work promoted me to charge nurse. Stability grew. One sunset. Family gathered at my place, first time post-drama. Burgers grilled. Stories shared without barbs. Jake helped clean, parents listened. Not perfect, but human. As stars emerged, I thought, true freedom is in isolation, its connection with respect. The experience humanized us. We learned favoritism erodes, fairness builds. A gentle moral, in life's harsh landscapes. Nurture all roots equally, or the whole tree withers. Months turned to a year. The Arizona season cycling from scorching summers to mild winters. My house stood resilient, a testament to reclaimed ground. Jake stabilized, his Mesa job and logistics stuck, therapy helping him own flaws.
We met monthly.
Rebuilding as equals. Thanks for not giving up, he said once. Over tacos at a food truck. I smiled. Families work. Parents evolved too. Dad helped fix my fence after a windstorm. Mom shared recipes. Conversations deepening. We were blind, she confessed during a hike in the McDowell Mountains. Your strength opened our eyes. Forgiveness flowed naturally, not forced. Boundaries held, no oversteps. Mutual respect. At work, I mentored young nurses, sharing my story as a cautionary tale. Stand for yourself, it inspires others. Community ties strengthened. I joined a local book club. Discussions on resilience echoing my journey. Reflecting on the drama. It felt distant, like a faded trail in the desert. The shock of Jake's invasion led to justice. But the real win was growth. We all learned. Entitlement poisons. Empathy mends. A light lesson for life in the vast West, where isolation breeds reflection. Value every member's contribution. One evening, under a full moon, family barbecued at my place. Laughter genuine.
No undercurrents.
As embers glowed, Dad raised a glass. To new beginnings. We clinked, the clatter symbolizing harmony. I stepped inside later. House quiet, my space sacred. The ordeal humanized our bonds, teaching that true drama resolves in understanding, not victory. Freedom found, not in severance, but in balanced love.